Welcome back to another video of planes I like to yap about. In this video, an attack supersonic plane from the Soviet Union, an evolution from another jet, and the first of its kind in the Union, the one and only, the Sukhoi Su-17 fighter.
Откуда огонь ведет, пусть штурмовиков наведет, отработают. До 5-го наведите, он отработает.
705-й, мы подходим на 3900, удаление от разведки 85.
Понял, повнимательнее. Как обычно, вылет срочный, знать прижали наших точно. Мы летаем денно-ночно, на свой вечный риск и страх. Наношу в планшете метку, там в квадрате, словно в клетке. Задыхается разведка в этих чертовых горах. Нам поставлена задача, вот еще бы нам удачи. Мы торопимся иначе, там поляжет целый взвод. Запускаюсь без газовки, техник в старенькой спецовке. Хлопнет борт по законцовке, два грача идут на взлет.
Смотри, гора, это наша гора. Видовая оборона снимай.
Мы не смотрим на пейзажи, эти сигналы страшны. Среди гор искал виражи, мы, браток, не отставай. Выхожу из-за пригорка, осмотрелся на горке. Еще высадной разборки, но ведомый, не зевай. Внизу держись, пехота, начинай.
The Su-17 project started as a way to fix the problems of the much older Su-7, which was tough and powerful but needed long runways and wasn't very forgiving to fly. So, in the mid-60s, Sukhoi came up with a simpler solution: variable sweep wings. Instead of redesigning the whole aircraft, they basically cut the outer wings and made them swing. They made them swing forwards for takeoff and landing and swept back for high-speed flight. This became the Su-17. It looked a lot like the Su-7, but it was much easier to operate and far more flexible. Over the years, the design kept evolving: the Su-17M, M2, M3, and so on. Each step brought better engines, more fuel, and new avionics. The last and most advanced model was the Su-17 M4. It came out in the late 1970s and solved many of the issues that the earlier ones still had. The inlets were redesigned, a new engine with more power and new avionics was added, and with all the upgrades, the Su-17 M4 could finally handle all-weather and night missions. In terms of role, the fighter was never meant to dogfight. It was a strike aircraft, meant to carry bombs, rockets, and guided weapons, and it did the job everywhere: Afghanistan, with the Soviets, Middle East, Africa, and even Latin America. The export version was called the Su-22 and the Su-20. It spread across Warsaw-Pact countries and more. The main countries that still use the fighter are Poland, Syria, Libya, Iran, Vietnam, and Yemen. And the main former operators are Afghanistan, Armenia, Belarus, Bulgaria, Czechoslovakia and the Czech Republic, East Germany and later on Germany, Hungary, Iraq, Peru, Russia, Ukraine, Slovakia, and many more. But how well did it perform during the conflicts where it participated? Well, in Afghanistan, the fighter flew over 60,000 sorties, and only about 25 were lost. That's roughly one loss per 2,400 missions. In the Iran-Iraq war, Iraq used both Su-20s and Su-22s heavily. Iran claimed 40 to 50 shot down, while Iraq admitted fewer. If we take the higher claim, that's about a quarter of Iraq's fleet. In Lebanon, Israel shot down 11 Syrian Su-22s in a single day, almost half of the Syrian squadron involved. During the Gulf War, Iraq lost 12 to 15 fighters in air combat. However, most of them were destroyed on the ground. Out of the hundreds of planned missions, the Su-22s barely got airborne, and the survival rate was close to zero once engaged. By the 1990s, more complicated jets like the Su-24 and the Su-25 started taking over, but the M4 still held its place, being upgraded to the M5, which was a Russian-French upgrade package, with improvements in the cockpit, hotels, avionics systems, and the inclusion of a radar. In War Thunder, there are 3 nations that have the fighter: Russia, which has 3, Germany, also with 3, and Italy with only 1. The fighter models we can find in Russia are the M2 and the M4 in the Tech Tree, and the Su-22 M3 as a squadron vehicle from Syria. The M2 version is the first one and currently sits at 10.0 in RRB and 9.7 in ground RB. It lacks countermeasures, has a worse engine, and in terms of armament, the best it can carry is only one KH-29L with a targeting pod. It can also carry two KH-25, and with it, dumb munitions only. For air, it can carry 4 R-60s, which are rear aspect, and 2 gunboats, but not at the same time. Below the M2 sits the M4 in 11.0, which is a serious improvement over the previous version. Firstly, it doesn't need a targeting pod. It can carry 2 KH-29Ts or Ls in the center pylons, plus 2 KH-25 MLs in outer pylons. Then it can carry unguided rockets or gunboats in the remaining pylons. For RRB, it can carry 6 R-60Ms and 2 gunboats or 2 S-25s, which are massive rockets with time fuse you can set to kill our targets in a head-on. Finally, it has a whopping 268 countermeasures, 12 of which are large caliber. Lastly, for Russia, the Su-22 M3, which is an in-between. It can carry 6 R-60Ms, 2 KH-29Ls and 2 KH-25 MLs in the same loadout. It can carry all sorts of damn munitions, including the S-25 rockets, but in comparison with the M4, which is at the same battle rating of 11.0, it can only carry 2 gunboats versus the 4 of the M4, and it only has 12 large caliber countermeasures. 12. In Germany, the first one is the Su-22 UM3K, which essentially is a copy-paste of the M3 in the Russian tree, but with more countermeasures, 128 to be precise. And then there is the Su-24 M4, which is a copy-paste of the M4 in the Russian tree. Also, there is a premium M4, which is the same thing as the Tech Tree one and the Russian one. For Italy, it's basically the same, as the only one available is a copy-paste Su-22 M3 from the Russian tree, with the same amount of countermeasures. I like the fighter a lot, and I think it's mainly because of the looks. I find it very amusing and funny looking, but in a good sense. For RRB, my style of gameplay is just to carry the S-25 rockets and the 6 R-60s, and when I get into a head-on I can fire the rockets and maybe get a kill. Then I have the R-60s left. For ground RB, the best loadout is 2 KH-29Ts, 2 KH-25 MLs and 2 R-60s. In the last pylons, which you can't carry any sort of guided munition, you can go with 2 bombs or the S-13 rockets.